The dust-choked wind howled across the Wyoming prairie like a banshee's wail, carrying with it the metallic tang of an approaching storm. Elias Kane gripped the reins of his gelding tighter, his knuckles whitening against the worn leather as thunder cracked overhead, a sound that mirrored the fracture in his chest. In that split second, as lightning forked the sky, he saw it, the silhouette of his best friend, tumbling from his horse into the ravine below, a scream swallowed by the gale that no one else would ever hear. Elias's heart slammed against his ribs like a Mustang breaking free. He'd known the risks of this life, the endless cattle drives, the brutal isolation of the open range, but nothing had prepared him for the terror of watching Harlan Thorpe vanish into the abyss. Harlan, with his easy grin and calloused hands that could gentle a wild bronc or mend a fence line in the dead of night, was more than a partner in this unforgiving world. He was the anchor Elias clung to amid the storms of his own hidden truths, the one person who'd glimpsed the shadows Elias buried deep. And now, in the chaos of the storm, Harlan was gone. Harlan. Elias's voice tore from his throat, raw and desperate, lost to the roar of the wind. He spurred his horse forward without a second thought, the animal's hooves pounding the earth like war drums. The ranch hands behind him shouted warnings, their faces blurred masks of concern under oilskin hats, but Elias didn't hear them. All he could see was the edge of the ravine, jagged and unforgiving, where scrub brush clawed at the crumbling soil. He dismounted in a skid of gravel, boots sliding as he scrambled to the lip, peering into the churning darkness below. Rain lashed his face, stinging like accusations, and for a heartbeat, despair clawed at him. What if this was the end? What if the secret he'd guarded for years, the unspoken pull toward Harlan that twisted his gut every time their eyes met, would die unspoken in this godforsaken hole? But then, a groan rose from the depths, faint as a whisper on the wind. Elias's breath caught. Harlan was alive. Down there, battered but breathing, his body wedged against an outcrop of rock, one leg twisted at an unnatural angle. Elias's mind raced, calculating the drop, 20 feet, maybe more, with the storm turning the slope into a slick trap. He couldn't wait for help. The creek at the bottom was swelling, threatening to sweep Harlan away. Tearing off his bandana, Elias knotted it to his lariat, fashioning a hasty rope, and lowered himself inch by agonizing inch, muscles burning, heart pounding with a fear sharper than any knife. When his boots hit solid ground, he dropped to his knees beside Harlan, whose face was a mask of pain and pale shock under the brim of his battered hat. Blood trickled from a gash on Harlan's forehead, mixing with the rain, and his green eyes, those eyes that had haunted Elias's dreams, fluttered open, locking onto his with a mix of relief and something deeper, unspoken. "Eli, you came," Harlan rasped, his voice a gravelly thread. Elias swallowed hard, fighting the surge of emotion that threatened to choke him. He wanted to pull Harlan close, to confess everything. The way Harlan's laugh lit the stars on clear nights, the ache of wanting what society deemed a sin, but instead, he clamped down on it, focusing on the practical. Survival first. Always. "Hold on, partner," Elias muttered, his hands steady as he assessed the damage. Harlan's leg was broken, no doubt, and ribs cracked from the fall. Elias fashioned a splint from a fallen branch and his own belt, ignoring the mud caking his jeans, the way Harlan's fingers brushed his in silent gratitude. That touch lingered, electric in the downpour, stirring the forbidden warmth Elias had learned to ignore. By the time the other hands arrived with lanterns and a makeshift harness, the storm had eased to a sullen drizzle. But the real tempest was just beginning inside Elias. Rescuing Harlan had cracked open the door to truths he'd bolted shut, and as they hauled him up, inch by torturous inch, Elias wondered if the prairie winds would finally carry his whispers into the light, or bury them forever. The days that followed blurred into a haze of worry and whispered ranch lore. Harlan was airlifted to the hospital in Cheyenne, a 2-hour drive over rutted backroads that felt like an eternity. Elias paced the waiting room like a caged wolf, the sterile scent of antiseptic clashing with the earthy musk of his unwashed clothes. He'd ridden in the ambulance, holding Harlan's hand under the guise of checking his pulse, but the contact burned with unspoken intensity. Nurses bustled past, casting curious glances at the dirt-streaked cowboy who looked more outlaw than patient. But Elias barely noticed. His world had narrowed to the operating room doors, behind which surgeons pieced Harlan back together. When the doctor emerged, scrubbing blood from his hands, Elias surged forward. "He's stable," the man said, his voice clipped with exhaustion. "Compound fracture in the tibia, 3 cracked ribs, concussion. He'll pull through, but it'll be a long road. Weeks in rehab, maybe months before he's back in the saddle." Relief flooded Elias, hot and dizzying, but it tangled with guilt. Harlan had taken that trail because Elias had pushed them to finish the drive early, chasing a deadline that now seemed trivial. And beneath it all lurked the deeper shame. If Harlan knew how Elias felt, the way his gaze lingered too long on the curve of Harlan's neck when he stretched after a long day, would he still call him friend? Visiting hours became Elias's lifeline. He'd drive out every evening after tending the herd, the old Ford pickup rattling like his nerves. Harlan's room overlooked the hospital parking lot, a window to the flat expanse of prairie that stretched toward the horizon, mocking their confinement. At first, Harlan was groggy on pain meds, his usual banter reduced to mumbled jokes about hospital jello tasting like boot leather. But as the days wore on, clarity returned, and with it, the weight of what had happened. "You saved my ass out there, Eli," Harlan said one twilight, his voice stronger, eyes searching Elias's face with an intensity that made the air thicken. "Owe you my life." Elias shrugged it off, fiddling with the brim of his hat, a habit to hide the flush creeping up his neck. Just doing what partners do. But the word hung between them, heavy with layers neither dared unpack. Partners in the saddle, sure. Years of shared sunrises and campfires, of Harlan's steady presence pulling Elias from the brink after his folks' farm went under in the drought of '08. But Elias's feelings ran deeper, a river carving canyons in his soul, fed by stolen moments. The brush of shoulders roping calves, the shared flask under starlit skies, where Harlan's voice dropped low, spinning tales of rodeo glory. Elias had buried it all under layers of denial, fueled by small-town whispers and the church sermons back in Laramie that branded such loves as abominations. Coming out wasn't an option, it was a noose. Yet, in that hospital bed, with the beeps of monitors underscoring their silence, cracks formed. Harlan shifted one evening, wincing as he propped himself up. "You look like hell, Kane. When's the last time you slept?" Elias forced a grin. "Sleeps for city folk. Got the herd waiting." But Harlan's gaze didn't waver. "Bullshit. You've been here every damn day. Something eating you." The question landed like a punch, and Elias's throat tightened. He wanted to spill it. The fear, the longing, the terror of losing the one person who made this hardscrabble life bearable. Instead, he deflected. "Just worried about you getting soft on me." Harlan chuckled, but it faded quick, his expression turning serious. "Eli, that fall. It wasn't just the horse spookin'. I was distracted, thinking about stuff I shouldn't." Elias's pulse quickened. Harlan had always been the steady one, the rock, but lately, Elias had noticed the shadows in his eyes, the way he'd pull away mid-conversation, like words were barbed wire on his tongue. Before Elias could probe, a nurse bustled in with meds, shattering the moment. But the seed was planted, a whisper of possibility amid the beeps and fluorescent hum. Back at the ranch, tension simmered like heat-off sun-baked earth. The barquet spread, 1,000 acres of sagebrush and grazing land hemmed by the snowy range, had been in Elias's family for generations, but now it felt like a cage. His uncle, Buck Kane, ran the outfit with an iron fist and a Bible-thumping heart, his disdain for city perversions a constant undercurrent. Buck's son, Tommy, a wiry kid of 20 with a chip on his shoulder and eyes that darted like a cornered coyote, had taken to needling Elias about the hospital runs. "Harlan's your boyfriend now, or what?" Tommy sneered one morning over coffee, the word laced with venom that made Elias's jaw clench. "Watch your mouth, boy," Elias growled, slamming his mug down hard enough to slosh black liquid across the scarred oak table. Buck, nursing his pipe by the window, shot a warning glance but said nothing. Family loyalty ran deep, but so did the prejudices etched into their bones by a town where rainbow flags were as welcome as twisters. Elias had learned early to swallow his truths, to channel the fire into roping and riding, but Tommy's barbs stoked old wounds. That night, alone in his bunkhouse, Elias stared at the ceiling beams, replaying Harlan's words. Distracted, thinking about stuff he shouldn't. Was it possible? The thought twisted like a knife. Hope and horror intertwined. Rehab began the following week, a facility on the outskirts of Casper that smelled of linoleum and false cheer. Elias drove Harlan there, the pickup's cab thick with unspoken words. Harlan fiddled with the radio, settling on a static-laced country station, crooning about lost loves and dusty roads. "Thanks for this, Eli," he said softly, as the miles ticked by. "Don't know what I'd do without you." Elias gripped the wheel tighter, the leather creaking under his palms. "You'd manage. Always do." But inside, turmoil churned. The accident had stripped away pretenses, forcing Elias to confront the fragility of their bond. One wrong word, one revealed glance, and it could shatter. At the center, therapists in polo shirts herded patients through exercises that Harlan endured with gritted teeth. Elias tagged along when he could, fetching coffee or cracking jokes to ease the strain. It was during one such session, watching Harlan grit through leg lifts on a mat, sweat beading his brow, that the first real twist hit. A new patient rolled in, a woman named Riley Voss, mid-30s, with a prosthetic leg from a tour in Afghanistan and a smile that cut through the room like sunlight. She was ex-military, sharp-tongued, and unapologetically queer, her buzzed hair and collection of pride pins announcing it loud as a bullhorn. "Name's Riley," she said, extending a hand to Harlan during group therapy. "Heard you took a header off a horse. Respect. Beats my IED story for drama." Harlan's laugh was genuine, the first Elias had heard in weeks, and something sour twisted in Elias's gut. Jealousy? No, couldn't be. But as the sessions progressed, Riley became a fixture, pushing Harlan harder in physio, sharing war stories over lukewarm vending machine snacks. She was out and proud, dropping casual mentions of her girlfriend back in Denver, and Harlan soaked it up like parched earth after rain. Elias watched from the sidelines, a knot forming. Was this what Harlan needed? Someone who wore their truths like armor, not shadows. One afternoon, as Elias waited in the lobby, thumbing through a dog-eared magazine, Riley cornered him. "You're the hero cowboy, huh? Harlan won't shut up about you." Her eyes, keen as a hawk's, pinned him. "But you look like you're carrying the weight of the world. What's your story, Kane?" Elias stiffened, the magazine crumpling in his fist. "Just a rancher. Nothing special." She arched a brow. "Bull. I know that look. Half in love, half terrified. Seen it in the barracks 100 times." Heat flooded his face, and he bolted for the door, her laughter chasing him into the parking lot. That night, driving home under a canopy of stars, Elias's mind reeled. Riley had seen through him, named the beast he'd caged. And worse, Harlan seemed drawn to her energy, her fearlessness. Was Elias losing him not to death in a ravine, but to a life Harlan might claim, one free of the lies Elias clung to? The thought propelled him back to the ranch with reckless speed, where Tommy waited like a storm cloud. Heard Harlan's got a new friend. Tommy jeered from the porch, nursing a beer. "Some dyke soldier. Figures you drag that kind of trouble home." Elias's temper snapped like dry tinder. He lunged, fist connecting with Tommy's jaw in a crack that echoed across the yard. Buck burst from the house, bellowing, but it was too late. The fight spilled into the dirt, punches flying amid curses and grunts. Elias pinned Tommy, rage blurring his vision. "You don't know shit about us," he roared, the words slipping free before he could cage them. Tommy's eyes widened, then narrowed with ugly realization. "Us? Christ, Uncle Buck was right. You're one of them freaks." Buck hauled Elias off, his face thunderous. "Enough. Both of you, cool off." But the damage was done. Whispers would spread, from bunkhouse to town saloon, branding Elias with the scarlet letter he'd feared. The fallout hit like a prairie fire. Buck called a family meeting the next dawn, the kitchen thick with coffee steam and tension. Tommy nursed a split lip, glaring daggers, while Buck's Bible lay open on the table like a judge's gavel. "What's this us business, boy?" Buck demanded, his voice low and lethal. Elias stood rigid, the weight of generations pressing down, the Canes who tamed this land with sweat and straight-laced virtue. Confession clawed at his throat, but he choked it back. Nothing. Tommy's mouthing off as usual. Buck's eyes bored into him, suspicious, but he let it slide, for now. Keep it that way. This ranch don't need scandals. Elias fled to the stables, where the horse's soft knickers offered solace. He saddled his mare, Willow, and rode out to the high pasture, the wind whipping his confession from his lips before it could form. Up there, alone with the endless sky, he let the tears come, hot, silent tracks down dust-caked cheeks. Harlan was his North Star, the one who'd pulled him from despair after his parents' death, who'd shared silences that spoke volumes. But if Elias's secret leaked, it could poison everything. The ranch, their friendship, Harlan's recovery. And Riley, damn her, had planted doubts. Was Harlan pulling away because he sensed it? Or was there something else, a mirror to Elias's own buried fire? Back at rehab, the air crackled with new undercurrents. Harlan was progressing, hobbling on crutches with Riley's encouragement, but his smiles for her grated on Elias like sand in a boot. One evening, after a grueling session, Harlan pulled Elias aside in the garden courtyard, the scent of wilting petunias heavy in the dusk. "Eli, we gotta talk." His voice was steady, but his hands trembled on the crutches. Elias braced, heart hammering. "About the accident. I wasn't just distracted by work. It was you." The world tilted. "Me?" Harlan nodded, eyes dropping to the gravel path. "Been feeling things I can't shake. For years. The way you look at me. Like I'm the only damn thing worth seeing. Thought it was one-sided, till the ravine. When I fell, all I could think was I hadn't told you." Elias's breath seized, the confession blooming like a thunderhead, joy and terror colliding. Harlan, but footsteps crunched behind them. Riley, waving a forgotten water bottle. "Hey, lovebirds, oh." Her grin faded at their stricken faces. "Shit. My bad." She backed away, but the moment was fractured. That night, Elias tossed in his bunk, Harlan's words a lifeline and a noose. Hope surged. He wasn't alone in the shadows, but fear loomed larger. Tommy's suspicions, Buck's judgment, the town's narrow eyes. And Riley, had she guessed? Her knowing look the next day confirmed it. "Harlan's scared," she told Elias during coffee run, her voice matter of fact. "Pushed him to open up. But you're both cowards if you don't fight for it." Elias bristled. "Easy for you, parading your flag." Riley's eyes flashed. "Earned it in foxholes, cowboy. You think hiding makes it easier? It just starves you." Her words festered, fueling a reckless decision. Elias confronted Tommy that evening, cornering him in the barn. "What you think you know? Keep it buried, or I'll bury you." Tommy laughed, bitter. "Too late. Told Dad everything. He's selling your share of the ranch come spring." The blow landed harder than any fist. Buck confirmed it over supper, his face carved from granite. "Can't have weakness here, Elias. Blood or no, it's business." Betrayal burned, but beneath it, clarity. The ranch had chained him too long. For Harlan, for them, he had to break free. The climax built like a twister on the horizon. Harlan was discharged, hobbling back to the barquet on Elias's arm, the homecoming laced with awkward warmth. Buck grunted greetings, Tommy smirked from afar, but Harlan sensed the chill. "What's going on?" He pressed that night by the fire pit, flames dancing shadows across his face. Elias spilled it, the fight, the sail, his unraveling secret. Harlan's eyes widened, then softened. "All this time, I thought you didn't feel it." Their hands found each other, tentative, the touch a spark in the dark. But joy was short-lived. Tommy's shadow loomed, and whispers reached the ears of Pastor Hale in town, who preached fire and brimstone from his pulpit, naming names. The storm broke at the annual Laramie Rodeo, the air thick with fry bread and cheers. Elias competed in bronc riding, channeling turmoil into every buck and twist, but his mind was on Harlan, watching from the stands with Riley, her presence a buffer against prying eyes. Victory tasted like ash when Tommy cornered him post-ride, drunk and venomous. "Faggot cowboy," he spat, loud enough for heads to turn. The crowd murmured, phones emerging like vultures. Elias's fist rose, but Harlan was there, crutches clattering as he shoved between them. "Back off, Tommy, or you're done here." Chaos erupted, shouts, a scuffle, Buck hauling Tommy away with curses. But the damage spread like wildfire online. hashtags twisting their story into scandal. Reporters swarmed the ranch, cameras flashing like accusations. Buck, face ashen, offered Elias a buyout. "Leave quiet, or we drag this through courts." Elias refused, standing tall. "This is my home. Our home." Harlan, at his side, nodded. "And mine, if you'll have it." Riley proved the wild card, her military connections pulling strings, a viral post from her, raw and real, calling out the bigotry, drawing allies from queer vets nationwide. Support flooded in, letters, donations for a new start. But the true turning point came in the quiet aftermath, as Elias and Harlan rode out to the high pasture at dawn, the prairie unfolding like forgiveness. "I love you," Elias whispered, the words finally free, wind carrying them like prayers. Harlan pulled him close, crutches forgotten. "Always have. Let's build something real." The ranch fractured. Buck relented under pressure, selling to a progressive co-op that welcomed all. But Elias and Harlan forged ahead, their bond tempered in fire. Twists lingered, Tommy's reluctant apology, Riley's budding friendship turning mentor. In the whispers of the wind, they found voice, love a prairie vast and unyielding, deep as roots in Wyoming soil. The sun crested the eastern ridge, painting the parquet in hues of gold and rose, but Elias Kane felt no warmth in its light. 2 weeks after the rodeo brawl, the ranch hummed with uneasy normalcy. Cattle lowing in the corrals, the distant whir of irrigation pumps, but beneath it, fissures ran deep as arroyos. Harlan Thorpe hobbled across the yard on his still tender leg, testing its strength with each step, his face set in that stubborn determination Elias both admired and feared. They'd stolen moments in the barn's shadowed lofts, hands lingering longer than before, lips brushing in tentative promises, but the world outside pressed in, a vice of judgment and doubt. Elias leaned against the fence, pretending to check the barbed wire, but his eyes tracked Harlan's every move. The man moved like poetry now, even injured, broad shoulders rolling under a faded flannel, the hitch in his gait a reminder of the ravine that had nearly claimed him. That fall had been the catalyst, cracking open hearts long sealed, but survival demanded more than confessions. It required battles Elias wasn't sure he could win. Buck's buyout offer hung like a guillotine, and Tommy's sullen glares from the cookhouse window promised more sabotage. Worse, the town's backlash simmered. Boycotts at the feed store, graffiti on the ranch gate reading Sodom's Cowboy'S. Harlan caught his gaze and paused, wiping sweat from his brow with a forearm tanned to leather. "Staring again, Kane? Gonna wear a hole in me." His grin was crooked, teasing, but his eyes held depths, vulnerability mirrored in Elias's own soul. Elias pushed off the fence, closing the distance in 3 strides. "Can't help it. You're a sight better than any sunrise." The words slipped out bolder than intended, a risk in broad daylight where hands could overhear. Harlan's breath hitched, and for a heartbeat, the prairie faded, leaving only the magnetic pull between them. But duty called, a fence line down in the North 40, courtesy of last night's wind. They saddled up together, Harlan on a gentle mare named Sage, Elias leading on Willow. The ride was silent at first, hooves thudding a rhythmic counterpoint to the rustle of cottonwoods along the creek. Elias broke it, voice low. Elias's chest tightened. Harlan's optimism was a balm, but it warred with the pragmatist in him, forged in lean years after his parents' passing. "It's not just money. It's them, family, town. They see us as wrong." The word tasted like ash. Harlan's jaw set. "Then we show him different. Together." His hand extended, bridging the gap between horses, fingers intertwining with Elias's in a grip that steadied the spinning world. For a moment, suspended in the dappled shade, Elias believed it possible, a future where whispers became roars of acceptance. Back at the ranch, reality intruded like a burr under the saddle. Tommy waylaid them at the corral, his face a storm of resentment. The split lip from the rodeo faded to yellow. "Dad's inside with the lawyer. Says it's done. Your share's gone by week's end." Venom dripped from every syllable, but beneath it, Elias glimpsed something fractured. Jealousy, perhaps, for the bond Tommy could never touch. Elias dismounted, towering over his cousin. "You stirring this pot, Tommy?" Thought blood meant something. Tommy spat in the dust. Blood don't mean bend in to your kind of sin. Pastor Hale's right. God's judge in this place. Harlan swung down stiffly, planting himself between them. Enough, kid. You want to judge? Look in the mirror. Hide in behind Daddy's skirts while the world's changing. Tommy's face flushed crimson, fists balling, but Buck's bellow from the porch halted the standoff. Inside, all of you. We talk this civil. The kitchen meeting was a powder keg. Buck at the head, Bible closed but ominous. The lawyer, a slick Casper suit named Hargrove, shuffling papers. Elias and Harlan shoulder to shoulder on one side. Tommy slouched opposite. Hargrove cleared his throat. Mr. Kane's offering a fair price, 20% above market. Sign, and it's clean. Buck's eyes, faded blue like Elias's own, flicked between them. It's mercy, boy. Town's talking. Sponsors pulling from the drive. Can't run a ranch on scandal. Elias's temper flared, hot as branding iron. Scandal? We're honest men, working the land same as you. Love don't change that. The word detonated. Buck recoiled as if slapped. Tommy smirked triumphantly. Harlan's hand under the table squeezed Elias's knee, a silent anchor. Uncle, Harlan said evenly, you raised us better than hate. Elias's family. I'm staying, with him or without the deed. The room crackled, tension thick as summer haze. Buck's pipe trembled in his grip, and for an agonizing minute, silence reigned. Then, a knock shattered it. Riley Voss, striding and unannounced, her prosthetic clicking on the linoleum, a folder of documents in hand. Heard you gents needed backup. Her smile was steel. Co-op's offer. Full buy-in, with equity for Elias and Harlan. Vets Against Bigotry Fund. Ironic, ain't it? Hargrove blanched, rifling papers. Buck's facade cracked, weariness etching deeper lines. This changes nothing. It's still. He gestured vaguely at Elias and Harlan, the unsaid, wrong, hanging. Riley leaned in, voice like a whip. Changes everything, old man. I lost a leg for freedom, yours included. Sign, or watch this place go to strangers who don't give a damn about Kane's. The ultimatum landed, and Buck sagged, signing with a hand that shook. Victory tasted bittersweet. As Hargrove packed up, Tommy bolted, slamming the door. Elias exhaled, turning to Harlan. We did it. But Harlan's eyes shadowed. Not yet. Tommy's a loose end. Night fell heavy, stars pricking the velvet sky like accusations. Elias and Harlan retreated to the old line shack, a weathered cabin a mile from the house, its walls papered with faded calendars and the ghosts of cattle drives past. A lantern cast golden pools on the plank floor as they shared a pot of stew, knees brushing under the table. Riley's a force, Elias said, stirring embers in the stove. Harlan nodded, but his fork paused. Yeah, she's helped me see things clear. Like, how I've been running from myself longer than you. Elias's spoon clattered. Running? You were the brave one. Rope in storms, fastened down bulls. Harlan's laugh was hollow. Brave? I buried it deep after my ma found my letters. Boy stuff, hid under the mattress. Kicked me out at 16, said I was possessed. Landed here, with Buck, thinking hard-worked cure it. The confession peeled back layers, exposing the boy Harlan had been. Scrawny, scared, forging armor from silence. Elias reached across, tracing the scars on Harlan's knuckles from barbed wire and brawls. Ain't no cure needed. It's us, Harlan. Real as this land. Their lips met then, soft and searching, a seal on shared wounds. But as passion ebbed to tenderness, a crash outside jolted them, glass shattering, followed by retreating footsteps. Dawn revealed the sabotage, the cabin's single window smashed, shards glittering like malice. Tommy's boot print in the mud confirmed it. Elias's fury boiled over, but Harlan restrained him. Don't give him the fight he wants. We rise above. Yet the incident rippled, drawing Sheriff Lang from town, a grizzled vet with a mustache like a broom and eyes that missed nothing. Hate crime, looks like. Lang drawled over coffee, notepad in hand. Town's dividend, half back in Hale's flock, half the younger crowd wanting progress. You boys planning to stick? Elias met his gaze steady. Damn right. This is home. Lang nodded, pocketing his pen. Good. Cause Riley's rally tomorrow. Queer pride on the square. Could use your faces. Show M strength. The idea terrified Elias. Public, proud. It flew in the face of every instinct screaming to hide. Harlan squeezed his hand under the table. We go? Together. The rally dawned crisp. Laramie's main street transformed. Rainbow banners fluttering from lampposts. Booths hawking buttons and bake sale pies. A stage where Riley emceed with mic in hand. We're here, Wyoming, she boomed, prosthetic gleaming. Veterans, cowboys, families, love wins plain style. Elias and Harlan stood at the edge, hats low, hearts pounding. Whispers swirled, pointed fingers, a few cheers, but as Riley spotted them, she waved them up. Our heroes, the men who stared down a storm and each other. The crowd parted, and they climbed, Harlan's arm around Elias's waist for support and solidarity. Applause swelled, tentative then thunderous, drowning hails protesters across the street with their signs of repent. Elias's voice cracked over the mic. We ain't a skin permission to love, just to live. Harlan added, Prairie's big enough for all. The moment ignited. Hugs from strangers, tears from allies. But twists lurked. Tommy, lurking in the throng, his face a mask of conflict. Later, as the crowd thinned, he approached, voice rough. Saw you up there. Dad. He's changin'. Read some books Riley sent. Apology hung unspoken, but it was a start. Back at the ranch, Buck waited on the porch, a letter in hand, from the co-op, welcoming them as partners. Guess I was wrong. He grunted, eyes averted. Land needs heart. You got plenty. As summer deepened, the barquet bloomed anew, fences mended, herds thriving, Elias and Harlan carving space in the bunkhouse for us. Conflicts lingered, a dust-up with Hale's deacons, a drought-testing resolve. But in quiet evenings, hands entwined on the porch swing, they whispered dreams of adoptions, expansions, a life unchained. Riley visited, her girlfriend in tow, turning barbecues into family. The Prairie, once a witness to silence, now echoed their truths, winds carrying not secrets, but songs of endurance. Yet, one final surprise awaited, a letter from Harlan's ma, postmarked faded. Saw the news. Proud, son. Coming home. Forgiveness, unbidden, sealed the circle. Elias held Harlan as he wept, the cowboy's unspoken feelings finally, gloriously, heard. Autumn winds swept the Wyoming high plains, scattering golden aspen leaves like confetti from a hard-won parade. But for Elias Kane, the season brought no ease. The rally's glow had faded, leaving scars etched deeper than barbed wire. The barquet ran smoother now, co-op funds shoring up sagging barns and hiring seasonal hands who nodded at rainbow stickers on toolboxes without a blink. But inside, Elias wrestled ghosts. Harlan's mother's letter, a fragile olive branch after decades of exile, stirred sediments of doubt. What if she came, saw them together, and the old condemnations resurfaced? And Tommy, his apology, a brittle truce, simmered with unspoken resentments that could ignite at any spark. Elias chopped wood behind the cookhouse, axe biting deep into oak logs with rhythmic thuds that drowned his thoughts. Sweat beaded his temple, soaking the collar of his chambray shirt, but the labor offered no absolution. Harlan approached from the corral, dusting hay from his jeans, his limp nearly gone, a miracle of grit and therapy. Buck's a skin for you in the office, he said, voice laced with caution. Something about the winter feed contracts. Elias paused, wiping his brow on a sleeve, reading the undercurrent in Harlan's eyes. And Harlan hesitated, then sighed. Tommy's in there too. Family vote on expand in the herd, buy-in from that outfit in Montana. Elias's stomach nodded. Expansion meant risk, capital they could ill afford if old feuds fractured the partnership. All right. Let's get it over with. They walked in tandem, shoulders brushing, a casual intimacy that still sent sparks through Elias, a reminder of stolen nights where whispers turned to vows. But as they entered the office, the air thickened like smoke before a blaze. Buck sat at the scarred desk, ledger open, pipe smoke curling toward the rafters. Tommy lounged against the file cabinet, arms crossed, his gaze sliding over them like oil on water. Boys. Buck rumbled, gesturing to chairs. Numbers look good. Could double the steers if we pool for the auction. Elias nodded, scanning the figures. Promising, but leveraged on trust. I'm in if everyone's square. The room stilled. Tommy shifted, jaw ticking. Square? After you turned this place into a circus? Buck's hand slammed the desk. Language, son. We voted majority rules. Tommy's laugh was sharp. Majority? With your pet projects? He jabbed a finger at Harlan. He brings his ma here, stirs up more mess. Town's still buzzin'. Lost 3 buyers last week. Elias's blood heated. Blame us for prejudice? Fix your hate, Tommy. Harlan leaned forward, voice steady. My ma's coming to heal, not harm. Give her a chance, like you got. Buck's eyes darted. Conflicted patriarch torn between legacy and love. Enough. Votes 3-1. Proceed. Tommy stormed out, door banging like thunder, leaving echoes of fracture. That evening, as crimson sunset bled across the mesa, Elias and Harlan rode fence on the western boundary, the horizon a bruise of purple and orange. Willow nickered softly under Elias, sensing his tension, while Sage plodded patient beside. Tommy's unraveling, Harlan murmured, scanning the wire for breaks. Saw him sneak in smokes by the creek last night, muttering to himself. Elias's grip tightened on the reins. The vulnerability in Harlan's tone cracked Elias open. He dismounted, tethering Willow to a fence post, and Harlan followed suit, crutches long discarded but caution lingering. They sat on a sun-warmed boulder overlooking the valley, the prairie unfolding in waves of buffalo grass. Your ma? You scared? Elias asked, voice rough. Harlan picked at a seam in his glove. Terrified. What if she rejects us? Or worse, tries to fix it? Elias's hand found his, thumb tracing calluses earned in tandem. Then we stand. Like the rally. Like the ravine. Their foreheads touched, breaths mingling in the cooling air, a ritual of reassurance. But peace shattered with the distant crack of a rifle shot, sharp as judgment. Birds exploded from scrub oaks, and Elias bolted up, scanning. Poachers. Harlan shook his head. Sounded closer. Calf pasture. They mounted swift, galloping back, hearts pounding. The scene that greeted them curdled blood. A yearling steer down, gut shot, entrails steaming in the dusk. Tommy kneeling beside, rifle across his lap, face streaked with something like grief. What the hell? Elias dismounted, fury and confusion warring. Tommy looked up, eyes wild. It charged, slipped the gate. But the lie hung thin, no broken fence, no tracks of panic. Harlan knelt, examining the wound. Clean shot, not defense. Why, Tommy? Tommy's shoulders slumped, rifle clattering. Didn't mean. Just wanted to hurt something. Like you hurt Dad, making him choose. The admission hung, raw and broken, a cry from a boy adrift in a world shifting underfoot. Buck arrived on horseback, face ashen at the carnage. Fool boy, that's $5,000 gone. But his anger fractured at Tommy's sobs, pulling him into a rough embrace. Elias watched, pity stirring despite the bile. We all losin' pieces, uncle. But killin' ain't fixin'. Later, around the fire pit, under a canopy of wheeling stars, the family convened, not as foes, but fractured kin. Tommy confessed the sabotage, the window smash, the whispers to hail, acts of a drowning man clutching thorns. I hate what you are, he choked, but more, I hate feelin' left behind. Harlan spoke first, voice gentle. Ain't about leavin', it's invidin'. Join us, Tommy. Learn the ranch new. Buck nodded, pipe forgotten. Blood's thicker. We'll make it work. Elias added, forgive, but earn it. No more shadows. Truce dawned fragile, sealed with handshakes and shared whiskey, the flames leaping like tentative hope. Weeks blurred into the harvest's frenzy, baling hay under relentless blue, branding the new calves with the Barkay iron. Harlan's mother, Clara, arrived on a greyhound from Nebraska, a wiry woman in her 60s with Harlan's green eyes and a carpetbag clutched like a shield. Elias waited on the porch, nerves jangling like spurs, as the bus wheezed to a halt. Clara stepped down, scanning the horizon before locking on Harlan, who limped forward, arms open. Ma! The embrace was fierce, tears carving tracks down dust-veiled cheeks. Elias hung back, hat in hand, until Harlan waved him over. Ma, this is Elias. Ma. Clara pulled back, studying him with a gaze that peeled souls. Your heart, I reckon. Saw the papers, proud as punch. The acceptance landed soft as snowfall. Thawing ice Elias hadn't known encased him. Over pot roast that night, stories flowed. Clara's regrets, the letters burned in shame. Her own hidden youth dallying with a farm girl before marriage's cage. Hid too long, she said, fork pausing. Don't you boys? Shine bright. Tommy, subdued at table's end, even cracked a joke about city traffic, earning laughs. But undercurrents swirled. Hale's church plotting a reclamation protest at the next town council, whispers of eminent domain to seize immoral lands. Riley called, voice crackling over spotty cell. Heads up, vets rally in support. But watch your back, Hale's got pull. Elias thanked her, but sleep evaded him that night. Harlan snores a comfort beside as he stared at moonlit beams. The council meeting loomed like a showdown. Laramie's brick hall packed with ranchers and Stetsons, and housewives clutching petitions. Elias and Harlan sat front row, Clara and Riley flanking, Tommy uncharacteristically present beside Buck. Mayor Ellis, a portly feed supplier, called order. Zoning variance for Barkay expansion. Cheers and boos erupted. Hale rose, Bible in hand. This ain't ranch-in. It's recruitment. Sodom on our soil. Murmurs swelled, but Elias stood, voice carrying like wind over plains. We're growing feed, jobs, community, not sin. Judge the work, not the hearts. Harlan joined, leg steady. Fought for this country, Afghanistan, Iraq proxies. Freedom includes us. Applause built, Riley's vets chanting equal ground. Tommy even spoke, halting, their family. My family. Back the variance. The tide turned. Vote passed 7-4, Hale storming out with his flock. Elation crested, but a twist awaited in the parking lot. An envelope under Willow's windshield, anonymous. Leave or burn. Threats chill seeped deep, but unity armored them. Back home, around the fire, Clara shared tales of prairie queers past, hidden loves in sod houses, coded songs at barn dances. Y'all ain't first, she said. Just loudest. Harlan pulled Elias close, whispering, our story now. Winter whispered in with first snows, blanketing sins and starts alike. The ranch hunkered, herds in sheltered valleys, family bonds mending like quilt stitches. Tommy apprenticed under Harlan, learning not just roping but listening. Buck softened, quoting proverbs on wisdom over wrath. Clara stayed, baking pies and tending herb gardens, her presence a bridge to Harlan's past. But climax brewed in a blizzard's howl, wide out burying roads, stranding a lost trucker on Barkay fringes. Elias and Harlan rode out, lanterns swinging, finding the man hypothermic in a drift. Rescue forged legend, headlines praising cowboy lovers save stranger, turning foes to fans. Hale conceded in a terse editorial, grace in action. As spring thawed the earth, Elias and Harlan stood atop the ridge, hands clasped, surveying their kingdom. Whispers no more, Elias said. Harlan smiled. Echoes now. Forever. Spring unfurled across the Wyoming prairie like a flag of truce, wildflowers nodding in the breeze. Indian paintbrush and lupin painting the Barkay in defiant color. Elias Kane breathed it deep, the scent of thawed soil and rebirth mingling with the ever-present tang of horse sweat and sage. 6 months post-ravine, the ranch pulsed with renewed vigor. New irrigation lines snaking through pastures, solar panels glinting on the bunkhouse roof. A co-op concession to modern ways. Yet, for all the progress, Elias carried a quiet vigilance. The anonymous threats echo a shadow at noon. Harlan Thorpe, fully mended, swung from the saddle with the grace of a man reborn, directing hands in the calving barn where a heifer labored under straw-littered beams. His laughter rang out as a slick calf emerged, mother licking it clean, a sound that still twisted Elias's heart with fierce protectiveness. They'd built routines now, shared dawns with coffee on the porch, evenings where hands wandered freely in the privacy of their room, whispers evolving into plans for a commitment ceremony under the cottonwoods. But the world beyond the fence line tested those foundations, Hale's concessions notwithstanding. Clara bustled from the kitchen, apron dusted with flour, bearing a tray of biscuits. Eat up, boys, storms brewing east, might push cattle. Her integration had been seamless, her stories weaving a tapestry of resilience that inspired even Tommy, who now volunteered at the local LGBTQ youth center in Casper, channeling resentment into reluctant advocacy. Buck grumbled but tolerated, his Bible studies now including Love Thy Neighbor without qualifiers. Still, fractures lingered. A recent town hall had devolved into shouts when a developer eyed Barkay fringes for a fracking lease, pitting progress against preservation and old bigotries against new alliances. Elias joined Harlan in the barn, clapping dust from his gloves. Council's tonight, frack vote. Riley's driving up with petitions. Harlan straightened, wiping his hands on a rag, green eyes alight. We'll pack the room. Show him the Canes stand united. The casual we warmed Elias, a far cry from the guarded partnerships of yore. But as they saddled for a perimeter check, a truck rumbled up the drive, unmarked, dust-caked, disgorging a man in a rumpled suit, FBI badge flashing. Agent Reyes. Here on that threat note. Elias's pulse spiked, the envelope's scrawl vivid in memory. Find anything? Reyes flipped his notebook. Prints traced to a burner. Hales Deacon, disgruntled ex-hand. But deeper, chatter about corporate sabotage. Frackers want the land clear. Harlan's jaw tightened. So it's not just hate, it's greed. Reyes nodded. Interviews start tomorrow. Keep sharp. The agent left, but unease settled like dew, chilling the spring air. The council chambers buzzed that evening, folding chairs creaking under a crowd swelled by Riley's caravan of activists. Vets in fatigues, queer families from Cheyenne, locals clutching no frack signs. Elias and Harlan claimed seats midway, Clara beside with her knitting, Tommy awkwardly holding a poster. Mayor Ellis banged the gavel. Public comment on Barkay lease proposal. Hale rose first, voice oily. Preserve our values, or sell to sinners. Boos rippled, but a new voice cut through. The developer, slick as patent leather. Jobs folks. 200 positions, royalties for the county. Applause from backbenchers. Elias stood, heart hammering. Jobs built on poison? Frack fluid leaches arsenic, kills herds, sickens kids. We steward this land for generations, not quarters. Harlan followed, steady. Fought overseas for resources. Won't watch home poisoned for profit. Riley took the mic, prosthetic tapping rhythm. We protected freedoms abroad. Protect water here. Cheers built, but the twist came mid-debate. Tommy, standing unbidden. I worked this ranch my life. Frackin' ruins it. Chemicals in the creek. Earthquakes crackin' foundations. His voice cracked, eyes on Buck. Dad taught respect for the dirt. Can't sell soul for a paycheck. The room hushed, then erupted, standing ovations sweeping Hale's faction aside. Vote. Denied. 8-3. Outside, handshakes flowed, but Reyes waited in shadows. Good work. But Deacon's talkin', names a mole inside the co-op. Betrayal's sting hit home next dawn, as Elias saddled Willow for a solo ride, needing the prairie's vastness to untangle knots. Harlan caught him at the gate. Reyes called. It's Jenkins, co-op board. Bribed for intel. Elias swore, mounting up. Meeting at noon. We confront. But the ride turned fateful. Halfway to the ridge, Willow shied at a glint in the brush, a tripwire, snapping taut across the trail. The mare reared, Elias tumbling into thorns, shoulder wrenching as he hit. Pain bloomed, but worse, a figure fleeing on ATV, dust trail leading north. Harlan found him minutes later, face pale as he radioed hands. Eli, Christ. He cradled Elias, binding the gash with his bandana, eyes fierce with fear. Who? Elias gritted. Saw the jacket, Deacon's crew. Rescue came swift, but the incident escalated. Hospital in Laramie confirming a concussion, ribs bruised. Harlan paced the ER, fury etching lines. Enough. We fight back. Press, lawyers, all. Clara arrived, fussing with ice packs, while Tommy hovered guiltily. My fault. Pushed too hard on you. Elias waved it off. Family sticks, kid. Discharge brought allies. Riley organizing a benefit concert on the ranch, proceeds for legal defense. National news sniffed blood, queer Cowboy'S versus Big Oil, drawing queer icons and eco-warriors. But emotional undercurrents churned. Harlan confessed doubts by the bedside. Scared I'll lose you. like the ravine, but slower. Poison in our blood, not storm. Elias pulled him down, foreheads touching. Won't happen. We're roots, Harlan. Deep, tangled. The concert dawned electric, Barquet transformed, stage under strung lights, food trucks lining the drive, crowds swelling to hundreds, locals, out-of-towners, even skeptics lured by free beer. Riley emceed, band belting anthems of resistance. Elias and Harlan took the stage for a duet, guitars and harmonies on a ballad of prairies and promises, voices blending raw and true. Cheers thundered, but mid-set, chaos. Shouts from the treeline, shadows rushing the perimeter. Deacons thugs, Molotovs arcing like comets. Pandemonium, flames licking hay bales, screams scattering revelers. Elias dove for a extinguisher, Harlan tackling a torchbearer, fists flying in dirt-churned melee. Riley's vets formed a cordon, phones capturing evidence. Sheriff Lang roared in, badges flashing, hauling miscreants. Buck, wielding a hose like a lance, doused the blaze, Tommy at his side shielding Clara. As smoke cleared, the crowd rallied. Chants of solidarity, drowning embers. Aftermath forged steel, arrests, lawsuits crippling the frackers. Jenkins confessed, co-op purging rot. Hale, isolated, shuttered his reclamation fund. But personal reckonings deepened. Tommy sought therapy, unpacking a father's expectations and his own buried confusions, bisexual curiosities suppressed. You gave me permission, he told Elias over fence mending. To question. Summer solstice brought the ceremony, cottonwoods arching over a simple arch of antlers and wildflowers, guests a mosaic of supporters. Clara officiated, voice trembling. In this land of whispers, you speak volumes. Rings exchanged, plain silver, engraved with unspoken no more, sealed vows. Harlan's kiss, public and proud, drew whoops, tears flowing free. Yet, a quiet twist. Clara's revelation of a sibling, Harlan's half-sister, estranged queer artist from Seattle, arriving unannounced, canvas in hand. Heard your story. Painted it. The portrait captured the ravine rescue, Elias descending like an angel into storm, Harlan reaching up. Symbol of their arc hung in the bunkhouse, it anchored them. As harvest waned, Elias and Harlan rode the high pasture, rings glinting in sunset. Twists and all, Elias murmured. Harlan grinned. Worth every scar. The prairie whispered approval, winds carrying their forever. The relentless Wyoming summer baked the Barquet into a furnace of dust and determination, the sun a merciless blacksmith hammering the land into submission. Elias Kane wiped rivulets of sweat from his brow, the brim of his hat offering scant shade as he wrestled a bulky pump in the east field. Water was lifeblood here, and with the fracking threats quelled but aquifers still wary, every drop counted. Harlan Thorpe worked beside, torque wrench in hand, his once limping stride now a seamless rhythm. Partner in labor and love, their bond a quiet force amid the clamor of expansion. The co-op infusion had swelled the herd to record numbers, new hands, diverse faces from Texas drifters to queer transplants, infusing fresh energy, but growing pains bit deep. Clara's half-sister revelation had rippled outward, Lena Voss arriving like a whirlwind, tattooed arms, asymmetrical haircut, her art truck crammed with easels and queer manifestos. Call me Len, she declared, hugging Harlan fierce. Ma's stories didn't do you justice. She'd claimed the old foreman's cabin, turning it into a studio where paint-splattered canvases captured Barquet life. Cowboys roping under rainbows, resilient as the land. Her presence stirred old waters. Buck eyed her warily. Tommy engaged with shy curiosity, drawn to her tales of underground art scenes. Elias straightened, pump gurgling triumphantly, and Harlan clapped his back. Fixed. You're a wizard, Kane. The praise landed warm, but Elias's smile faltered. Wizard? More like worrywart. That sister of yours, Lynn, talkin' about a gallery show in Denver. Lunch under the cottonwoods brought the family circle. Clara's potato salad heaped on plates, Lena sketching idly, Tommy recounting a youth center workshop where he'd shared his Kane cousin coming out story, edited for Hope. Buck grunted approval, a far cry from his brimstone days. Town's changin'. Even Hale's boy dropped by, apologizing for his pa. The deacon's son, a quiet mechanic, had confessed complicity in the threats, seeking amends through volunteer work. Redemption's threads wove tight, but Elias sensed undercurrents. Lena's Denver pitch included a doka short on their romance. Cameras probing wounds still tender. Afternoon brought the twist, a courier van, sleek and corporate, depositing a subpoena at the bunkhouse door. Class action from frack victims downstream, the driver explained. Barkay named co-defendant, alleged negligence in water monitoring. Rage simmered as they drove to Cheyenne for consult with the co-op lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Tate. Winnable, she assured over conference room coffee, but messy. Discovery means airing laundry, personal, professional. Elias's mind raced. Depositions dredging the threats, the rally, their relationship under microscope. They'll paint us as distractions, unfit stewards. Harlan's hand under the table steadied him. Or poster boys for resilience. Tate nodded. Lean into it. Media's on your side. Back home, storm clouds gathered, literal and figurative, thunder rumbling as they briefed the crew. Hands murmured support, but doubt flickered. A young vaquero, Miguel, voiced fears. If we lose, job's gone. Families suffer. Elias addressed it head-on. We fight clean. This land's ours to protect, for all. Evening found them in the studio, Lena filming a raw interview. Elias recounting the ravine, voice cracking on Harlan's name. He fell. I dove. Love don't hesitate. Harlan's turn brought tears. Hid so long, thought it sin. Turns out, it's salvation. The lawsuit's grind began, depositions in sterile offices where suits grilled them on everything from cattle logs to bedroom whispers, veiled homophobia in every personal stability probe. Elias endured Harlan's texts, breathe, partner, anchors in the fray. But a bombshell dropped mid-July. Leaked emails implicating Buck in early lease talks with the frackers, pre-co-op, desperate times. Buck confessed over whiskey in the office, face haggard. Before you boys turned it around. Thought it'd save us. Betrayal stung, but Elias saw the man behind. Widower clinging to legacy. Own it, Elias said. Testify true. Buck nodded, eyes wet. Raised you better. Sorry. The admission mended rifts. Tommy, overhearing, stepped up, volunteering as witness, detailing sabotage's toll on his soul. Hate poisoned me. This ranch healed. August heat peaked with the gallery opening in Denver, a whirlwind escape, urban sprawl clashing with prairie souls. Lens exhibit, whispers unveiled, drew crowds. Critics praising the ravine portraits, visceral queer heroism. Buyers snapping up pieces funding youth scholarships. Elias and Harlan, in pressed shirts and BOLO ties, mingled awkward but proud, hands brushing in crowded rooms. A producer cornered them. Series pitch, your story, serialized. Tempting, terrifying, more eyes on secrets half-healed. Rejection came swift. We're private men, Harlan said, Elias echoing. But the night culminated in rooftop vows renewal under city lights, Lena capturing candid joy. To twists untold, Harlan toasted with craft beer. Back on the Barkay, harvest frenzy awaited. Combines rumbling, silos filling. But lawsuit heat rose. Trial date set for fall. Frackers lawyers smearing them in ads as radical activists ruining jobs. Climax brewed in a pretrial hearing, Cheyenne courthouse swarming media. Elias testified first, voice steady on the stand. We tested waters, reported anomalies. Ignored? By suits chasing black gold. Cross-exam probed personal. Your orientation, does it impair judgment? Elias met the lawyer's eyes. Love sharpens it. Saved my partner's life, wouldn't for land. Gasps, then applause as judge gavels silence. Harlan's turn brought fire. Fought wars for rights. Won't cede home to poison. The twist, Buck's testimony, halting but honest. I erred, feared loss. But these boys, they're the ranch's heart. Jury swayed, settlement whispers circulating. Outside, Riley waited with news. Deacon's crew flipped, full confession. Case crumbles. Victory tasted of rain after drought, settlement funds bolstering Barkay defenses, water filters, legal war chests. Fall painted leaves and fire, harvest feasts drawing community. Tommy brought a date, a soft-spoken teacher from the center, nerves easing into laughter. Clara and Lynn plotted expansions, art retreats for queer youth. But emotional depths plumbed in quiet. Elias, post-trial, confessed lingering fear. What if it's never enough? Always fighting. Harlan held him by the fire. Fights build us. You're my enough. Winter's hush brought peace, snowshoe treks, holiday lights on the arch. A final surprise, Lena's gift, a mural on the bunkhouse, depicting their arc from shadows to sun. Your legacy, she said. Elias traced it, Harlan at side. Ours. The Prairie, eternal witness, whispered on. Winter's iron grip loosened on the Wyoming plains, yielding to a tentative spring that coaxed greening shoots from frost-cracked earth, much like the slow mending of souls on the parquet. Elias Kane stood at the kitchen window, mug of black coffee steaming in his calloused hands, watching Harlan Thorpe direct the branding crew in the corral below. Steam rose from irons heating in a fire pit, the sizzle of seared hide punctuating body jokes, and the lowing of yearlings, a symphony of renewal. The lawsuit's settlement had injected vitality, upgraded wells, a community greenhouse funded by Lynn's art sales, hands' wages bumped to draw talent from drought-struck Dakotas. Yet, Elias's gaze lingered on Harlan, tracing the easy command in his posture, the way sunlight gilded his sweat-damp hair under the hat. Their love, once a subterranean stream, now surfaced in open affections, a kiss at dawn, intertwined sleeps unbroken by doubt. But scars itched, the Fracker's appeal loomed, a final legal jab, and town vestiges of prejudice simmered in sideways glances at the feed store. Just count in blessings, Elias replied, forcing a grin. But truth nagged. The appeal hearing in 2 weeks, with whispers of expert witnesses discrediting their tests. Harlan entered then, stamping mud from boots, pulling Elias into a quick, flour-dusted embrace. Crew's ready, join us? Elias nodded, but as they stepped out, a ranch truck rattled up. Tommy, face flushed, with a passenger, Pastor Hale himself, hat in hands, expression contrite as cracked leather. The corral stilled, irons cooling forgotten. Kane, Hale began, voice gravelly. Come to. Make peace. Buck emerged from the barn, pipe clenched, eyes narrow. Tommy hovered, mediator in this uneasy détente. Pa's been praying, he said. After the deacon's trial, saw the light. Hale nodded, meeting Elias's stare. Wronged you. Scripture twisted for hate. Want to. Bless your union, if you'll have it. The offer hung, absurd yet aching, redemption from the dragon's mouth. Harlan's hand tightened on Elias's arm. Why now? Hale sighed. Lost my flock to truth. Family too. Boys leavin' for seminary, says my shadow's too long. Vulnerability cracked the preacher's armor, mirroring their own past concealments. Elias waited. Forgiveness as chain or key. Words first, he said. Actions next. Support the greenhouse. Preach inclusion. Hale agreed, a handshake sealing tentative alliance. As he drove off, Tommy lingered. He's trying. Like me. The incident stirred depths. That night, by the fire pit, Elias and Harlan unpacked it. Hale blessing us. Feels like trap. Harlan poked embers, sparks ascending like prayers. Or growth. Like Tommy's center work. Kids coming out cause he shared our story. Elias leaned into him, head on shoulder. Yeah, but appeals coming. Tate says they got a hydrologist claiming our well's clean. Harlan's arm circled tight. We'll counter. Riley's got experts. Vets with soil creds. Spring deepened, calving season a blur of midnight vigils and joyous balls. Lynn's Doka short premiered at a Casper Film Fest. Prairie hearts, drawing tears, and standing ovations. Streaming royalties padding the ranch coffers. But emotional tempests brewed. Clara confided a health scare. Early cancer, treatable but terrifying, prompting family huddles where Harlan's stoicism cracked, Elias holding him through sobs. Can't lose her now, Harlan whispered. Just found her. Elias vowed. We fight together, all fronts. The appeal hearing dawned stormy, Cheyenne skies brooding as they filed into court. Suits swarmed, cameras flashing, national outlets sniffing drama. Elias testified anew, voice honed. Settlement acknowledged harm. Reopening spits on justice. Harlan backed, data in hand. But the twist. Hale, subpoenaed by their side, took the stand. As man of God, I attest, the Cain's steward pure. My past sins don't taint their truth. Gasps rippled. The hydrologist faltered under cross, admitting cherry-picked samples. Judge's gavel fell. Appeal denied. Frackers ordered further remediation. Jubilation erupted outside. Hugs from Riley's crew. Toasts in the parking lot. Back home, a bonfire celebration. Len projecting the Doku on barn wall. Guests dancing to fiddles and drums. Tommy, arm around his teacher, raised a glass. To roots, deep and queer. Buck, mellowed by ale, even swayed with Clara. But climax shadowed joy. During the reel, a figure at the tree lean, Jenkins, escaped on bail, rifle glinting. Chaos. Shouts, scattering. Elias shoved Harlan behind a trough as shots cracked, splintering wood. Hands dove for cover, Riley tackling a vet to safety. Tommy charged, disarming Jenkins in a tangle of limbs. Hero's arc complete. Sheriff's sirens wailed, hauling the man away, his ravings of ruined empire fading. Aftermath sealed healings. Jenkins's trial swift, conspiracy charges sticking. Clara's treatment succeeded, her strength a beacon. Summer solstice brought the blessing. Hail under cottonwoods, voice solemn. In God's vast love, I pronounce you bound. Rings renewed, guests cheering, family, friends, former foes. Yet, a poignant turn. Len announced departure, gallery in Portland calling, but promised returns. Y'all inspired my next series, Echoes. Tears flowed, hugs fierce. Fall harvest reaped abundance, silos groaning, hearts fuller. Winter whispered closure, snow blanketing old battlegrounds, Elias and Harlan in the high pasture, breath fogging. From whispers to legacy, Elias said. Harlan kissed him slow. And beyond. The prairie held them, eternal.